Some names are phenomenal.
And then Ronaldo!
But what if a name could save you? Because for Trump, when the buildings crumbled, the name stood tall. In 1990, he owed nearly $1 billion. His empire was collapsing, but somehow the name Trump kept cashing checks, even when he couldn't. This is the story of how Donald Trump lost everything, except the one thing he'd spent his whole life building, his name. The acceptance rate for Harvard University is 3%, Apple 2%, and the average person has a 1% chance of becoming a billionaire in their lifetime. Donald Trump has done it 5 times. That's like beating the lottery, getting into Harvard, and launching the next iPhone, all in the same week. The 1970s were a terrible time for the American economy. It didn't just hurt America's economy, it broke it. Unemployment was high, inflation was sky high, and gas prices were so high they turned everyday errands into luxury expenses. New York was particularly hit hard. The city that never sleeps was having nightmares. Social unrest and rising crime rates meant NYC was pushed to near economic bankruptcy. Sure, Spider-Man already existed then, but there was not much a 7-year-old could have done. The real estate market was also in shambles, with many middle-class residents moving away due to the high crime rate, leaving empty buildings to rot away and rents to fall drastically. Given this setup, how could anyone survive or build a business here? In 1970, at just 24 years old, Donald was appointed president of the Trump Organization, his father's real estate company. Sure, daddy's money. We also wish we had that. This didn't remove the Gotham-like nature of New York. But where others see problems, the Donald sees opportunities. And his first move? It was so bold it would either make him a legend or destroy everything his father built. But in the midst of this chaos was a glimmer of hope. To kickstart the economy, President Nixon slashed interest rates, basically making money cheaper to borrow than ever before. To most, falling interest rates meant cheaper loans. To Trump, it meant buying Manhattan on sale. And he sure went on a buying spree. In 1978, together with Hyatt, he bought and renovated the Commodore Hotel adjacent to Grand Central Terminal. In 1983, he built Trump Tower, New York. In 1984, Trump Plaza and casinos opened in Atlantic City. By 1987, he wasn't just buying buildings, he was buying a $27 million private yacht, and became famous for saying, "Leverage is my friend." In 1988, the Plaza Hotel for $480 million. And by 1989, he started his own private airline with $360 million. He was buying buildings faster than we fill our shopping carts during the 2-for-1 Black Friday special. And for a while, it was working. He was everywhere. Magazines, talk shows, and news headlines. Trump wasn't just a man anymore. He was a brand, one so powerful he looked untouchable. Until it wasn't. In the words of legendary investor Charlie Munger, smart men go broke in 3 ways: liquor, ladies, and leverage. For Donald Trump, it was the third. July 1st, 1990. The day the music stopped, and the US economy officially entered a recession. Fewer people traveled, consumption fell, and outings were reduced. And Trump's golden formula suddenly became his death sentence. The cheap money, gone. The crowds vanished. The interest payments, still very much there. For the first time in over a decade, there were no cheap loans to cover interest payments, and fewer people were visiting his businesses. And by the end of the year, his casinos were bleeding $3 million per week. By 1991, Trump wasn't just losing companies. He was losing his yacht, his plane, and even his helicopter, one luxury at a time. The same banks that once begged to lend him money were now taking his toys away like a disappointed parent. $900 million. This was how much Donald Trump had in personal debt at the end of 1991.
1990s, you owed something like $900 million. Your empire was pretty
much more than that.
You owed more than that?
975 was personally guaranteed. That was just the small part. That was the harder debt. But I owed many, many billions of dollars. And now my company is much bigger and stronger than it was in the 80s.
He had effectively become a billionaire in reverse. But then, it got worse. The Manhattan real estate market collapsed. Casino revenues plunged, and interest rates shot up. Now his creditors weren't just worried, they were panicked, and they wanted their money back. June 1991, the Trump Taj Mahal had just filed for bankruptcy. It was Trump's biggest gamble, costing $1.1 billion to build, and it didn't pay off. Bankers from 70 different banks gathered in Manhattan, the very place where it had all begun. And these weren't junior analysts or random reps. We're talking top executives from Citibank, Chase, and Bankers Trust, the titans of Wall Street, gathered in one building, all with one goal: make sure Donald Trump paid back his debt, without taking them down with him. It was like being summoned to the head teacher's office and discovering both of your parents already waiting inside. But for Trump, a simple scolding or slap on the wrist wouldn't work. The banks wanted their money fast. And just like how you'd try to argue that you haven't done anything wrong when confronted, the Donald tried to renegotiate the loan agreement for a longer time period. Given the backdrop of the 90s recession, the banks argued for the sale of the assets to recoup their losses, liquidate everything. But there was a problem: the Plaza Hotel that Trump bought for $407 million. In this market, it was worth maybe $250 million. But then the bankers realized something that would change everything. All those years of Trump putting his name on buildings, creating drama, living large, he hadn't just been showing off. Donald Trump had accidentally created something incredibly valuable: a name. Even as his empire crumbled, people still believed in the brand. Thanks to the headlines, the controversies.
Eligible bachelor in America. Please welcome Donald Trump.
Reputation of Donald Trump, the man who dates a different woman every year.
I don't do that. I mean, I've been with a number of women, but it's been over a fairly long period of time. I've had great relationships with women.
The giant buildings stamped with gold letters. He had effectively turned his name into a luxury brand, much like Giorgio Armani or Ralph Lauren. Unlike Curry, who's only known for basketball, and Ronaldo, who's known for football, the name Trump transcends multiple industries, including hotels, casinos, airlines, and more. And they quickly got to work. Instead of constructing buildings, he would license his name to them, even if he didn't own them. Trump Towers Florida, Mumbai, Dubai, and even Trump Hollywood, $600 million. The amount Donald Trump made from licensing agreements in 2024, more money than his previous investments had. But why stop at licensing buildings alone? There were so many other businesses on which he could slap his name. And soon, the Orange Man was in the show business. WE, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Home Alone, water, dietary supplements, cryptocurrency, and even Trump University. There aren't many industries that haven't had a Trump-branded product. But then came a deal that changed everything. Not just another product with his name on it. This time, he was the product. This is Mark Burnett, most known for creating TV shows like Survivor, Shark Tank, The Voice, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, and many more. You get the picture, reality TV royalty. In 2004, he had a bright idea. If Survivor could pit 20 strangers against each other on an island for $1 million prize, why not do the same in the concrete jungle of New York City? And who better to play the billionaire boss than Donald Trump, the ultimate showman? Most billionaires wouldn't even pick up the call. The concept was simple: 14 contestants, one prize, a job running one of Trump's businesses. Yes, the same ones that recently filed for bankruptcy. And it was a massive success. It turned business into entertainment, and America watched. 28 million people tuned in to watch the season finale, more than the entire population of Australia. It was business turned spectacle, like Twitch. If the boss wore a suit and fired you on national TV.
And David, I'm going to ask you to take the down elevator. You're fired.
Trump's catchphrase, "You're fired," became a national treasure, making him famous across the country. For his efforts, Donald Trump earned $214 million for the 14 seasons it ran. Talk about a payday. The show got so popular that even celebrities started contesting for spots on the show. But he wouldn't stop there. Ever the bold businessman, Donald Trump took it a step further. On March 17, 2015, off the success of the third season of The Celebrity Apprentice, Donald Trump announced his presidential ambitions. To many, this sounded like a crude joke.
Going to be president. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank.
Okay.
I guarantee.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
And then deliver that State of the Union address. In no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit. I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
Here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
A man who had overestimated his ability and fame. But if there's one thing this video has shown, it's this. Never, Bet against the Orange Man. November 8th, 2016. Of the 44 previous presidents of the United States, Donald Trump became the first person to win the presidency with zero political or military experience on his first try. From $900 million in personal debt to the most powerful office in the world. Like him or not, Donald Trump's story has been nothing short of phenomenal. He didn't just build skyscrapers, he built a name that could survive when everything else collapsed. But what if he just slapped his name on everything and walked away? Well, KFC tried that in 2016, and it got weird. You can find that video here.